Hello everyone and welcome to Ganesh Institute channel. So today we are going to discuss about aspects of language, okay? And in that as well we are discussing the nature of language, okay? So what is the language? What does language mean and from where it is originated? So these all things will be covered in today's session. So if you see what is language, there are so many people who have given so many definitions of language. Basically, language is a means of communication. You know, we all, just like I'm explaining something and you are listening, we can only understand all these things by the means of language, which is something which is very important for communication. Now, as when I said that there are so many definitions of language, sometimes examiner can ask you that according to Oxford Dictionary, what does language means? Or according to this author, what does language mean? So, according to Oxford Advanced Learner Dictionary, the definition of language was given in 1989 by it, and they said language is a system of sounds, words, patterns used by humans to communicate thoughts and feelings. I hope it is quite easy to grab it. So, if we see from where language is originated, how and why language is originated, so there are so many theories about it. However, there is no exact, timeline or exact the exactly the founder is nowhere mentioned. So there are some theories given by different people. Firstly, we are going to discuss about the divine source theory. As the word suggests, what does divine mean? Every society generally has a divine story linked with religion to tell about the origin of language, okay, and origins of its language for a particular society. If we see, for instance, some people believe that, okay, God created Adam, and whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name given thereof. Okay, so this was the belief according to Christianity. So the divine source theory of Christianity. Similarly, according to Hindu tradition, they believe that language came from goddess Saraswati. So all the religions, all the societies, they somewhere or the other, in some way or the other, there appears to be a divine source that provide humans with a language. Moving on to next, which is the natural source theory. So, it is showing natural sound. So, what is natural sound? It is all those words which are, echoic in the form of natural sound are called onomatopoeic. What are they called? Onomatopoeic, that imitate natural echoic sound. For example, dog produces sound, bow wow. So we named it like this. For cock, it is cuckoo. So this is these are the onomatopoeic words which are the natural echoic sounds. Okay? And if we see, the natural source theory states that words are the imitations of natural sounds, and from where they have come. So words were imitations of natural sounds which early men and women heard around them. Okay, whatever they heard, that becomes, I mean, they grabbed it and they named it likewise. So this is this theory about. This is all. Next, if we see, there is a criticism for this theory as well, because every language, every society has given a different name for every particular thing, right? So you can't say that because it is onomatopoeic and in this language this word suggests the meaning as this, so we are naming it. Because if it is so, then there will be different names. Why it is so? Okay, for example, let me give you an example so as to get it clearly. If you see roosters crow in English, they have a sound cock-a-doodle-doo, whereas in Hindi it is kukuruku, and in German it is kikeriki. So if it is natural, so are these animals also have different sort of sounds? This is the language which have different thing, right? So this is one of the critique. Next is the poo-poo theory. So this theory was given by Darwin, and he stated that language of a man like himself developed from a primitive form from expressions of emotions. So for example, let's say if someone is feeling like, you know, there is sadness and someone is feeling low, then what's the reaction? Usually that person will puff out the air through the nostril or mouth and makes the sound. This sound will come out, right? So the critique of this theory named it as poo poo, the sound which came out as per the emotions when we felt low, when we felt or feel low. So this is all about this theory. Next, moving on to next, which is the ding dong theory. According to this theory was given by Mueller. Firstly, you should know about the founder. This theory suggested that there is a relationship between sound and meaning. Okay, for example, let's say if any object is struck by a solid body, then obviously it produces sound, right? And we named the object according to that sound. For example, if we hear, you have come across this example in daily life, that bell, the sound of bell is ting tong, and we named it as ting tong only, right? So this is somewhat related with the natural sound, but this is not natural. We are creating the sound of that particular object, right? Now, next, this is all language. We are moving towards why language is needed after all. So if you see, we can, in the beginning I told you that this is a means of communication. So whenever we have to convey some information, convey emotions or feelings, or if there is any, we want to do any social chit chat, that is basic communication. And if someone wants to fulfill the aesthetic reasons like poetry, or someone wants to discuss something, or just to relieve nervous tension, these are all the things which has the significance of language. Okay, part, which is the characteristic of human language, and this is very important topic in terms of exam point of view. So you should know why human language is unique, and if examiner can ask you that, okay, what's the difference between an animal communication or animal language and human language, so you should know how to compare and contrast using characteristics of human language. All right, so firstly, use of sound signals. you know Human beings can transfer language to visual symbols, right? We all do. We sometimes use gestures, and we use sound signals we to convey the messages, right? However, if you see, this is not unique to humans. This is present in animals as well. So this is not a unique quality. Next is reciprocity or interchangeability. If you see, at the moment I am speaking, right? So I am a speaker, and you are a listener because you are listening to me. Now, this role can be interchanged as well. Sometimes, if you will ask me questions and it would be a live session, you could ask questions there. So that time you would be a speaker and I would be a listener. So any speaker send off a linguistic signal can also be a listener or receiver, right? Next is arbitrariness. This is something important. So arbitrary means, if we see in animals, there is an apparent relation between the signal and the message animal wants to convey. If you see any animal wants to come into attacking mode, we can know that okay, this is this has got scary now and we should move away, right? Attacking mode of cat and dogs, we all know it's quite visible. So this is apparent, but in humans, if you see I'm speaking, you can sometimes people, their body gestures doesn't do not even match with what they are saying, right? It is all arbitrary. Human can use any arbitrary signal while conveying message. Okay, so this is arbitrariness. So this is something, if we see in humans, there is no logical relationship between the word and the thing it symbolizes. This is called arbitrariness. For example, we name eggplant as brinjal, right? The name, if we see, or if someone they have body gestures, as I told you previously, their body gestures do not match with what they are saying. This is also arbitrary. Next is rapid fading. See, I am speaking something, now I am taking a pause, so you will see my auditory signals, they disappear once I stop talking, right? So auditory signals are transitory. This is for all, both for humans and animals. They disappear quickly, right? Moving on to next characteristic, which is the need for learning. This is very, very important. So if you see, in animals, language is inbuilt. So for example, in all over the world, bee dancing, bees, honeybees or bees dance if they want to convey information about the source of nectar. So this is common in all sort of bees in all over the world, right? So they don't need learning, this is inbuilt. However, human beings, though they are born with an innate language acquisition device. What does this LAD means? Language acquisition device. That means human has the capability to acquire the trait by learning it, by observing it. Okay. So if you see, we all have a mother tongue, right? But we can't speak it just after we born, right? We have to learn it. Our parents teach us, our surrounding teachers. So this is what, if you see the instance of Tarzan, a human child who has brought up in isolation, what do you think? He would know how to speak? No, he or she does. Any human being who has brought up in isolation, he or she does not acquire language. Whereas in contrary, in animals, birds, even if they are reared in isolation, they can sing songs which are recognizable because they don't need the learning. This is inbuilt. Okay. Moving on to next, which is spontaneous use. So if you see, I am speaking I'm speaking something. Now, this is just spontaneous. Whatever I'm feeling like, or whatever there is any concept in my mind, I just speak it up, right? So there is no obligation that you have to speak in this way or that way, or in which language should be used. So humans can speak spontaneously out of their own will. All right. Next is displacement. This is somewhat important. So displacement means, see, I am talking to you, and let's say two people are communicating with each other, but they can also talk about the things which are not present around, right? So they can talk about weather, which is present, but they can also talk about the friend who is not present among them, who lives in different city, different nation, right? So human has that capability that they can speak about those things as well which are present in their surroundings or absent in their surroundings, about any subject. Doesn't matter how far away the topic of conversation can go, whether it's time or space. Okay. Whereas animals do not have this property. Animals mostly can communicate about the things which are present in their immediate environment. They will they will observe their enemies and then react, and then show the sign of danger. They communicate with their surroundings, but they cannot talk about the danger. Okay, once a lion came and we have to take care of this and that. They cannot talk about the things which are absent and not present in their immediate surrounding. Okay, next is turn taking. This is so simple and it may sound funny, but yeah, humans can take turn while talking, right? We all can. We don't need to be in attention position to speak to somebody. We can do our course and then also we can talk. Moving on to next, which is creativity. This is important and you can relate with it. So if you see in animals, there are fixed number of messages which are sent for particularly or for particular defined environment. Okay, there are fixed, some of the fixed situations, how do they react, and but human beings, if you see, they can talk about anything they like, even if they have never produced or heard any utterance. They can produce and understand it, right? They have creativity. If they have heard a single line, um, let's say we all, there is a huge vocabulary, right? But we all are not aware of all the words which exist. So let's say we have heard somewhere that this is the meaning, like gobsmacked means surprise, shock. Okay, now we can use it in any of the sentence, any of the conversation where it can relate with the situation or scenario, right? So it is our creativity. Moving on to next, which is specialization. So what we have in terms of language are vocal signals which are transferable, and those vocal signals have specific purpose, and that is to convey the meaning. So they are specialized in their purpose. All right. Moving on to next, which is duality or double articulation. This is also important. So if you see, duality means two things will be there, and articulation means when you have those skills through which you can um, set an example of showing something extraordinary. Like if you are communicating and you are articulative, that means you have that capability that you can convince anybody with your skills, with your communication skills. Okay, you have special effect which you bring into it. Now, because it suggests two, so animals use a finite set of basic sounds. They have simple things and they use basic sounds, whereas in humans they have, we have alphabets. Apart from alphabets, we have certain basic sounds, like 40 or so. So those sounds are called phonemes, like f, k, k, right? However, if I'm only saying these phonemes, phonemes, so if I am talking about phonemes, okay, so they cannot exist in isolation. I'm saying f, what does it mean? K, what does it mean? No. When they come into, when they are combined with each other in specific order, then they, and that is also under the rules of a language, then they convey meaning. All right. So this is called duality. That means the property of having two levels. First is individual sounds, which are called phonemes, and second is their combination to make bigger words, meaningful words. All right. Moving on to next, which is patterning. The complete feedback. One more thing I would like to suggest here in duality, that this is not unique in human language. Research has shown that birds also have notes. When they sing, they have notes, but those notes also cannot exist in isolation. They can only be understood if they can be combined in a meaningful combination. All right. So moving on to next, which is complete feedback. You know what does feedback mean? So feedback means when you got to know that how did you perform and how was it which you did, a review. Now complete feedback here means that they see language speakers are aware of what they are saying, right? Language speakers are aware. Whatever I'm saying, I'm aware of what I'm saying, right? So because I'm aware, so I only have that feedback that whether I have whatever I've told was right or wrong or how to improve it. So I have the complete feedback. The receiver or the language speaker has the capacity or capability to have complete feedback of the vocal signal by themselves. Okay. Moving on to next, which is patterning. This is also important. It is somewhat related with duality. As I told you, in duality we have phonemes at first level and second is the combination of them. So patterning means whenever you have some alphabets or some phonemes, you have to arrange. There is definitely an internal pattern to arrange them in a particular manner to form meaningful sentences or words, right? For example, let's say I'm taking some alphabets O, T, P, S. All right. Now, if I tell you that, okay, you have to make some patterns out of them. So what they can be? Either be spot, S-P-O-T, this has some meaning, or stop, S-T-O-P. But if you arrange them in the way like T-S-O-P, does it make sense? No. O-P-S-T, it is not a meaningful word. So always humans have something which is called patterning, in which they arrange the words or sounds in meaningful patterns. Okay. In contrast, animals have simple sounds and they does not require any internal organization within the system. Okay. Next is structural dependence. What does it mean? So human beings understand the pattern of language. Now they have understood it. For example, now they can formulate it into different forms of structure. I am saying, we have two things. If someone is saying, um, let's say, let's go to market, okay? But we can also transformulate it. This is active voice. We can transformulate it into passive voice. So there are so many different patterns or structure in which a particular sentence can be rearranged by applying the rules of language. So somehow the structure of a language is dependent on rules of language. This is called structural dependence.